Last year, when I was up in Indiana helping Rich and Katie build their shed, I got to know their next door neighbor Bob, who had a veritable vegetable jungle on his back deck. One day, he fired up his Weber grill to smoke veggies for a smoked salsa that sounded delicious and tasted even better. So this year while we were up there, I asked Bob to teach us how he smokes his veggies so we could try it on our big green egg at home. Now, Bob is a big Weber guy, a walking advertisement for Weber grills, in fact. In this video, he'll show us how he smokes veggies on his Weber to make the world's greatest salsa ever. Also, he will try to convince me that Weber is better than Big Green Egg. But with this task, he will fail. So we're on Bob Davis's back deck. He is Rich and Katie's next door neighbor. And he is going to teach us how to smoke vegetables to make a smoked vegetable salsa. So Bob, tell us, first of all, kind of give us an overview of the process.
Well, it's very simple actually, and I saw it online. But you take tomatoes and peppers and, clean them, wash them, cut them in half, and build your fire. And we'll go through that because that's like you have to have a water pan and wood, and there are different ways to do it. And it's basically a 2-hour process at like 225, 250 degrees. And it's really easy. And then after, you just want to watch them, make sure they don't start to burn or crinkle up, because all they're doing is for a couple hours is just soaking up the smoke and warming up slightly. And then you take them off and chop up some cilantro and a lime and put it all in the blender, and you've got salsa.
Sounds cool. So what we're going to be smoking tomatoes,
onions, 2 jalapenos I picked from this guy, and 2 serranos I picked from that guy, and a bulb of garlic.
Okay, sounds great.
Important things.
Let's get started.
The Weber is all about airflow from the bottom through the top.
All right.
And the way it's designed, it circulates very similar to a Big Green Egg. And I've got these lower vents closed off a little bit to limit the amount of airflow, because the lower vents are the main airflow. And then the top just basically kind of fine tunes it to some extent. So I'm going to start building a snake, which is one of the many ways to do this. So I'm going to just dump a bunch of coals in. Some recipes I have call for counting the number of coals. I'm just eyeballing it at this point. I know I don't need to do a complete snake all the way around. I've seen some that are like 4 levels that'll last 15 hours. This is only going to go for 2, so I'm only going to do a small partial one.
Now, are you using natural charcoal?
I'm using Kingsford. It seems to be the best for Webers at this point. I like lump charcoal and I like the natural stuff, but I usually get a bag of lump charcoal, and all of them are really small pieces, and they end up going down, and it just doesn't. I don't think the Weber was designed back in the 50s for that. Let's see if I can get this second row going.
And why do they call it a snake?
Because it kind of resembles one.
I've never heard of that.
Would be my guess.
Okay.
And the whole idea is you get like maybe 5 or 10 charcoals lit, briquettes lit, and as they, by too much, expend their fuel, they light the next one.
Oh, interesting.
Because you just start on one end.
So it's a process of them passing the heat from one to the next.
Yes.
And that's how you keep the heat low.
Yes, yes. Now I've heard naysayers say that each time the charcoal gets lit, it might go and passes to the next one, you get, chemicals and gas from the Kingsford and so forth. And I think if you get your airflow, and I've read rebuttals right, that's not an issue. And I've not had an issue using my other grill cooking meat. That should be enough.
So you basically have 2 rows and a third row on top of the first 2. So this is hickory?
Yes.
Are you this exacting when you smoke anything?
Yes.
Okay.
It's I didn't count the charcoals. Normally I do count the charcoal.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it's yes, it's an exact science. And you have to hit a temperature with meat. And there's a whole science.
So this is a chimney.
You can get all kinds of off brands, but the Weber ones last longer.
Okay.
In my opinion,
So when I was
kind of
working,
the start of charcoal grills, Webers. And if there was no Weber, there most certainly wouldn't be a Big Green Egg or many of the other brands. I think I'm going to have to lift it up.
and you just stuffed the paper from the wrapper in there.
Yeah. The age of newspapers are over.
Yes, they are.
So that seems to be the most economical way to do it. That way I'm not throwing it away. And I also use the bags for the waste, the ashes. I think it caught.
Oh, wow, look at that.
You can tell the Amish tomatoes from the store-bought.
Oh, yeah, look at
tomatoes.
those. Those are gorgeous. Look at that. And then these are the jalapenos that you grew and the serranos you grew. Some red onion, and you've just taken the top off of a head of garlic.
Yeah, I think I might wrap it in a tin foil.
So what happens next?
Now that these are mostly ashed over, I'm going to take the briquettes and stack them next to the snake that I built, and maybe a little on top. I've only done this twice.
The snake?
The snake, and it was very successful the last time I did it. So the key is to keep the airflow going and use this to ignite what was built, and it will keep moving along.
Interesting. Now, how do you get that front area to go, or do you not just worry about that because eventually it will?
It's eventually gonna slide through. I might put, as these burn down, it'll eventually start going that way once those two ignite.
Okay.
So I'm going to move this. It's hot, and I do not want to burn you.
Okay.
There. The water pan goes down first. As for smoking, you need water. It
Why?
seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but the steam helps regulate temperature. And when you're doing proteins, it can also provide a crust with the spices that you're doing.
Okay. But when you're not doing proteins, what's the role of the water?
It still provides that airflow and that
Okay.
temperature regulation. Otherwise, depending upon weather conditions and wind especially, but heat plays a role too. If you don't use the water, your temperatures could fluctuate wildly.
Okay.
So it just provides that stability.
Interesting.
Now my dirty grate, which is going to get cleaned. They say don't use these because those can get, but if you're careful and you clean your stuff quite often, you're fine. It's those people that use old equipment and don't maintain it.
So, like not cleaning your grill each time you
Yeah.
use it.
All right, now I'm gonna put smaller stuff. Might have too many veggies.
Too many veggies, no such thing.
You definitely have too many onions for me.
All right. This might work out all right.
So you're putting some of them right on the grate and some of them on your screen.
Yeah, I think those aren't going to fall through there, so I think we'll be fine. I'm probably not going to have enough room for my skillet. This is the first time I've used this setup.
Have you ever smoked an eggplant?
I have not, but I'm intrigued by that.
Well, have you ever had baba ganoush?
I have. I love baba ganoush.
And the best baba ganoush is made with smoked eggplant. So I'm kind of intrigued by this whole smoking setup because to smoke a bunch of eggplant. But you know, one of the things I like to do is do a huge amount of food at the same time and then either can it or freeze it.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know how
that.
you'd put up baba ganoush.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know.
So you put your garlic face down. Now, will you turn that? Will you turn any of this?
I will not.
Right. So none of this is over the heat. All of it is.
Well, I've got an onion that's kind of close, but I think it'll be
But
fine.
the idea is to.
Not have over the heat.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think that works. Alright, I just want to make sure that it's catching before I put the lid on. But it
What do
looks
you
like
think?
it's happening. I think we're getting there.
Yeah, that hickory is
Starting to
blackening.
smoke.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you soaked your chips.
Yeah. But I did that because I was using a gas grill.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
And in fact, don't buy the little chips
Okay.
because they burn fast. You want to get the chunks. And don't soak them because it really doesn't do anything. The water will evaporate quickly and it'll burn almost just as fast.
Okay.
And in fact, on the gas grill, I'll take a chunk like that. I'll set it in the back before I put on chicken or the stuff I want to cook real quick. And it will start to char on high. And then when you regulate your heat lower, it'll just sit there and smoke. And you're good.
Good to know. Good to know.
I'm going to put the lid on.
All right.
And I'm going to open this a little more than I would normally using the Smokinator. We need to do a Smokinator part 2 or something.
Okay.
And because the whole process for that grill is different. So I use like clips to keep the airflow just top and bottom, because with these Webers you can get airflow through the gaps, and that makes it harder to regulate. But in this case, it's not as crucial to regulate your temperatures. You want to keep an eye on it. You don't want it to pop, much more than 275.
Now, so you have a temperature regulator over here, and you're
Yes.
going to come over and check it?
I'll check it. The bad thing about these, they're higher up, so they're catching the air movement, but you could be 50 to 75 degrees off.
Sure. And I notice you've got it over the part of where you've got the heat, as opposed to here. Because I was thinking, well, why not turn it around so you can read it easier? This is the part that is being smoked.
And I'm also trying to draw the smoke through there,
Okay.
so it'll come up through. And
Okay,
come
that makes
across.
sense. So you're trying to draw
Across.
the smoke across the food. Good to know. Cool.
But I think we're going to be fine.
Now, how long are you planning to do this
2 to
before?
3 hours.
And are you going to check it in between?
I'll look at it, absolutely, just to make sure I'm not. And after an hour, I'll check it.
Just to make sure everything is burning okay.
Yes.
All right.
And I do smell. I can walk by, and if something's burning, you can smell that.
Yeah. Or if there's no smoke coming out, you can tell. You lost your fire, right?
Yes. And that's happened a couple times.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all there is to it. Smoke them, and I may not mix it up tonight. I might put them in a 9x12 and stick it in the fridge, and then tomorrow morning mix the salsa up, because it's already been smoked. So you're not going to have that issue with tomatoes and refrigerators and so forth.
So the recipe is all of the vegetables minus the garlic skins
Yes.
into a blender with some lime, some salt, and some cumin.
Yes. And fresh cracked brown pepper.
Okay.
And lime, cilantro, salt, cumin. And notice I was hovering around 200 on the Weber, which can mean it's 150 or 250. And the smoke was coming out well. So I'm adjusting the vents a little more closed, maybe a quarter or an eighth of what they were. And let's look and see where we are with this.
That.
We're starting to get some color on the onions.
Yeah.
And yes, it's starting to go.
Yes, it is. It's starting to move. Nice.
So I think we're
God, it
sitting where
smells
we need to.
amazing.
All right, it's been 2 hours, which makes it more fun.
Look at that.
Thinking about going a little longer, but we're getting ready to storm, so I might just take the veggies off and leave the maters on to exude more liquid. But I think they're starting to concentrate some.
So what are you looking for when you're looking for it to start to
Well,
concentrate?
I
like
do
I'm
it-
seeing some little
They
crispy
get dry
edges.
and get crispy, and that's when you want to take them off, because those are cooking more than smoking.
And what are you thinking about where the tomatoes are concerned?
I can still see a lot of liquid, so everything's gonna lose their hydration, and I actually should close it because that's making it hotter.
I'll put your eye out, man.
All right, now I'm taking off the stuff that I think is getting a little too overdone, because you don't want them to burn, but you still want them to retain the flavor.
So you're taking off the peppers
Peppers and
and the onions. Not the garlic.
because I want the peppers and onions to be crisp in the salsa.
Uh-huh.
And I want to check the
Okay.
Well, that needs maybe half an hour more, which may turn into 45 minutes of me getting it off in the rain.
Oh
I want
no.
the tomatoes to just at least go a bit longer.
Alright.
And they're the farthest away from the fire. I may have killed the garlic. We'll see. Yeah, I'll probably kill the garlic.
Why do you say that?
It's a little dry. It'll work though. Dry always works.
Alright.
Excuse me?
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
Well, I have a hard time believing that Bob killed the garlic because you know what? That salsa was the best salsa I have ever tasted. And now Mike and I can't wait to get back to South Carolina and try this out on the Big Green Egg. See you then.